12 years. She'd been to doctors, and after seeing doctors, only got worse. But we know sometimes it gets worse, and then it gets better. She's not got better yet. She's only got worse. And she's desperate. She needs some help. And this is what happens. She's going to try to find help in Jesus. She's going to try to find hope in Jesus. It's a really unique story in all of the Gospels. Mark chapter 5. We're going to look at the second part of verse 24 through verse 34. So what's going on is Jesus, he's got this task. He's with this ruler whose daughter is sick, and they're on this journey to go see this man's daughter. That's the task. He's already busy. He's already about to go do something. And this lady comes to find him. It's only gotten worse, and then she needs some help. And the crowd is gathered, and they're following Jesus, and they're going with him to see what he's going to do with this ruler's daughter. And that's where it picks up. It says, a large crowd followed and pressed around him. So the crowd is so strong that they're pressing around Jesus, bumping into Jesus. There's some people there. And a woman was there who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years. And she had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all she had, because she was broke at this point. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. And then when she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. The cloak would have been his outer garment. She touched his outer garment. And because she thought, if I just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Immediately, her bleeding stopped. She felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. She touched his outer garment, and immediately this lady with her 12-year ailment is healed. Verse 30, it says, at once Jesus realized that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and asked, who touched my clothes? You see, the people crowding against you, his disciples answered, and yet you ask, who touched me? Listen, everybody, this was a sarcastic. Anybody? Okay, somebody can relate. But the disciples here get sarcastic with Jesus. All these people crowding around you, and you're going to ask, who touched me? And you can just picture them chuckling over this. Oh, listen, we'll get there in a minute. We'll talk about it in a minute. It says, verse 32, but Jesus kept looking around to see who had done it. And then the woman, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell at his feet, trembling with fear, told him the whole truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. This woman was healed after a 12-year ailment. And this whole scene is this lady that she sneaks in. This crowd of people, and they're gathered and following Jesus. She sneaks in from behind to go see Jesus. She's just longing for her situation to be different, grasping for hope. Maybe this is it. Sneaks in from behind and experiences healing in Jesus. You know, this story, it tells us some things. It tells us some things about Jesus, and that he is a healer. And it tells us about Jesus that he has the power to heal wounds. And in this one story with one lady, we can capture, we can pick up, we can understand that Jesus has the power to heal all kinds of wounds. Because in this story, with this one lady, she has spiritual wounds, physical wounds, emotional wounds, and all of these wounds are healed. In 10 verses here, in Mark chapter 5, Jesus has the power to heal. And he has the power to heal you. Does anybody need a healer? Spiritual wounds. This woman, this lady is wounded. Spiritually, she doesn't have a relationship with Jesus. She doesn't have a relationship with the Lord, and this is her opportunity. She believes, and she's going to come and sneak in from behind. And so the story we have this with, it's in verse 30. And once Jesus realized that the power had gone out from him, okay, it's worded, and it could be taken that he didn't even realize what was happening. That somehow he's healed someone and he didn't know it. But that's not what this means. Jesus knew. Okay, there are scholars, some that have felt that somehow God the Father healed the lady, and then Jesus finds out about it in the process. Is that what happened? Did he not know what was happening? I mean, we're talking about God in the flesh. Of course, he knew what happened. He knew what was going on with this lady. It's Jesus. He is all-knowing. Of course he knew. And so when he asked the question, who touched my clothes? It's not that he's saying, who touched my clothes? Or, who touched my clothes? Or who touched my clothes? Right? No. Jesus knew. I'm talking about Jesus. He asked the question, can you see him? Who touched my clothes? He wanted to see her. He wanted to meet her. He wanted her to have that opportunity. She'd come from behind to speak to her, to have that chance, to have that encounter, so that she may know him, to know Jesus. Oh, he heals spiritual wounds. He knew that she needed a friend like Jesus. And as the disciples in verse 31, as they have this sarcastic response, all these people gathered around, bumping against you, and you say, who touched my clothes? Everybody touch your clothes. What's their response? Sarcasm. We can relate. We'd be right there with them, with our sarcasm. Wouldn't we? We'd be right there with them. But see, Jesus, unlike the disciples here, Jesus can tell the difference. Jesus can tell the difference between someone bumping into him and someone tugging at him. And this lady was tugging at him. She believed. She thought he was the answer, and she was right. For anyone here that's seeking, and you're wounded, and you're looking for hope, even if you got to sneak in from behind, whatever it takes, if you will tug at Jesus, he will respond the same way he did with this lady. He said, daughter. He referred to her as daughter or child of his. And he will refer to you as daughter or son, and he will welcome you in